Hey, what's up, guys? Spencer Rhodes here. So there's always been something special about Rick and Morgan from The Walking Dead, in my opinion. They were sort of the two big ones from the first episode. There were some other characters in the first episode of The Walking Dead, but they're all dead now. And when Morgan reunited with Rick at the end of season 5, it did sort of seem like this really dramatic thing, and then they had a few scenes together in season 6, and then Morgan and Carol pretty much separated from the rest of them. Well, they all kind of got separated up once Negan made his little introduction. But Morgan and Carol were at the Kingdom, and Rick did not see Morgan again until episode 9 of season 7, I believe. So that was another big moment where Rick and Morgan reunited, and Rick even says something like they had known each other since the very beginning. And then there's another scene at the end of season 7 when there's the big battle, and Ezekiel and Maggie sort of come to the rescue, and the Saviors flee. Rick and Morgan are fighting Saviors, and it's just sort of this. It's those two characters for a reason. It's those two characters for a reason, and it's because of them being in the first episode and that connection that the two have. That they're the only ones from the very beginning that are left standing. Yeah, it just seemed like there's always been sort of something about Rick and Morgan, about how they're the two longest living characters. I mean, they are literally the two longest living characters. And even in season 8, they had an episode, I believe it was episode 14, where it was just Rick and Morgan killing some Saviors. I mean, there's some other stuff going on, but it was just Rick and Morgan. It wasn't like Rick and Morgan and someone else with them. It was just Rick and Morgan. And yeah, and then there's a conversation in the finale that Rick and Morgan have. It just seems like there's always been sort of something special about those two characters. And another thing that's kind of unique about them is that neither of them are on the main show right now. Like a lot of other characters that are not on the main show right now, but most characters that are not on the show are dead. Rick and Morgan are not on the show, but there's still a good chance that they're both alive in the current timeline of season 9. I mean, I know that there was a 6-year time jump right after Rick gets captured by the helicopter, but who's to say that Rick and Morgan aren't still alive during the current timeline of season 9? I mean, they could kill off Morgan in fear. They better not. I'm not going to be happy with that at all. In fact, killing off Morgan would pretty much ruin the franchise for me. I mean, every character I'm really connected with, that I personally have really rooted for, is dead except for Morgan. Morgan's really just like the last one left. There's a lot of characters on The Walking Dead right now that I just don't care that much about. I mean, they're okay. But yeah, I really want Morgan and Rick to survive, and I still think that there's a big chance that those characters could reunite. I mean, they both kind of have that special connection, and they're both not dead. And so who's to say that that's not done on purpose? Who's to say that they both have not been kept alive for a reason? I mean, maybe they're both alive right now in the story so that they can reunite. There's the Rick Grimes movies, and Morgan could appear in one of those. But if he doesn't, they could end Fear the Walking Dead before they end The Walking Dead. And if there's characters alive at the end of Fear the Walking Dead, when the show ends, they could just go to The Walking Dead. So if Morgan is one of the last survivors at the very end of Fear the Walking Dead, he, Alicia, whoever else is still alive, they could just go to The Walking Dead. And if that way, Morgan is a part of The Walking Dead again. He could be back on the main cast. You could have Lenny James back on the opening titles of The Walking Dead again. It could be season 12, 13, 14, 15. Who knows? Who knows what season it happens. But if they bring back Morgan on The Walking Dead, they could also bring back Rick. I mean, Andrew Lincoln is still cooperating with AMC and Scott Gimple and everyone. I mean, they're doing the Rick Grimes movies. They're working with him on the fact that he wants to be in the United Kingdom and be with his family. But if they get to like the last season of The Walking Dead or the last couple of seasons on The Walking Dead, they could just be like, Andrew Lincoln, listen, you haven't been back on the show for a while. You've been in the United Kingdom, you know, enjoying all your wealth and being with your family. But, you know, The Walking Dead is still, you're still a huge, huge part of it. So come back to the ending, you know, come back to the ending to sort of tie everything together and reunite with Michonne and reunite with Morgan. Or it doesn't even have to be in the last season or the last couple of seasons. Andrew Lincoln could just take a break for a couple of years, and then maybe he decides he's ready to return and be away from his family again so that he can continue to tell Rick's story in The Walking Dead. Even if he doesn't feel that way now, he could change his mind in a few years. But if not, he could at least do the last season because he knows he's not going to have to stay. If it's the last season, if it's officially the last season, he could just do the last season. That way he's gone for a year and then he comes back to the United Kingdom. So Rick and Morgan could still reunite. They could. They're both. Neither of them have been confirmed dead in the current timeline of the 9th season of The Walking Dead. So they could still reunite. You could still have that dramatic reunion between Rick and Morgan. You could have the very last episode of the show have Rick and Morgan reunite, and maybe it mirrors the first episode. Like maybe Morgan's like concerned about Rick, so he's like, "Did you get bit?" or something like that. You know, it's like the line from the first episode, which I think that's what Morgan first says to Rick. So yeah, you could have Rick and Morgan reunite in the last season or the last episode, and that way it mirrors them in the first episode. Because it seemed like almost always, whenever Rick and Morgan were on screen together, it was just a big deal. Like they were always sort of respecting their connection as the only two original characters left standing. So, and they could do that. They could continue to do that. They did it several times in season 7. They did it several times in season 8, and they could do it in the last season or the last episode. They could have Rick and Morgan reunite, and it's just this big moment, and maybe it's a happy ending or something, and you got like whoever's still alive, like maybe Rick, Daryl, Michonne, Morgan, Judith, Alicia, maybe Carol, Maggie, whoever's still alive at the end of The Walking Dead. It could just be like a happy ending or something, you know. Rick reunites with Michonne and Judith, so he's back with his family, and then, you know, he and Morgan see each other again, and you know, obviously it'd be pretty dramatic if he reunites with Daryl and everything. But yeah, it'd be cool to have the last episode have Rick and Morgan be two of the survivors, because the show has already killed off so many main characters already. You could have Rick and Morgan be two of the survivors, and maybe like the last scene is the two of them talking to each other, just looking across a grassy field or something. Like the sun is up, it's a pretty day, and maybe Judith's going on some adventure or something, and Rick and Morgan are watching from the sidelines, and maybe they're just having a decent time and laughing about something, and all just kind of all seems well, and that's the end of the series. You know, and it doesn't have to be the end of the franchise. It could just be an ending to the main show, because The Walking Dead, the original show, is so popular. Fans are going to want an ending. They're going to want a definitive ending. Maybe not to the Walker virus, but to the core characters, to the core show. They're going to want some sort of resolution, and they don't have to get rid of the Walkers. They don't have to end the franchise. They could still tell other stories, other spin-offs. They could do prequels. They could do more video games. The options are pretty much endless, even if they do end The Walking Dead. And what I'm talking about, it could be season 20, 15, 25. You know, they could still have Rick and Morgan reunite. I mean, they've been alive this long. You know, their characters started in The Walking Dead back in 2010. It's 2019, and neither of them have been confirmed dead yet. So Rick and Morgan could still reunite in the last season, maybe the last episode. And I would really like that. I'd really like those two to be just two of the survivors. You know, just two of the survivors. Just have Rick and Morgan be survivors. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't be shy. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going anywhere. I make 1 to 2 Walking Dead videos per day, so please hit that subscribe button. Anyway, with all that said, I am Spencer Rhodes, and I will see you guys later. Bye.